Yeah, well, this raises the question of, is it realistic for a country of 50,000 people or 30 million
No,
people in the case of Australia to be independent? Because
no, it's a scam.
it,
It's like Crimea. It's a scam.
well,
No, it's like
the thing is,
independent. Then after that, we want to join the United States.
yeah,
It's a
well,
scam.
the thing is, like, it is a, well, it's a myth, right? It's like there's loads of people in Australia who wave the flag around, oblivious to the fact that it's got a big Union Jack on it, talking about Australian independence and we should be independent of China and independent of America. But it's nonsense. Like the Americans have said, the Pentagon has said that they will defend their interests in Australia, right? And what they're talking about is the access to resources that are exploited by the corporations that are based in America. Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because if Australia didn't have that, whether you call it an ally or an overlord or whatever you want to call the American relationship with Australia, but if we didn't have that, if America went away because a bunch of people in Australia wanted to be, quote, independent, well, then what would happen? You know, you've got 300 million people in Indonesia to the north. You've got China, which is a major importer of Australian resources. What's to stop China just marching in? And so this is the reality. In the world that's run by corporate, hey, Bagari, in a world that's really about corporate interests and exploitation of resources, small countries have alliances with superpowers, and it's a symbiotic relationship. It's not necessarily an exploitative colonial relationship where you have slaves and so on. The corporations negotiate their tax structure and they allow the people to have some degree of autonomy. But this idea of pure independence it's mythical, and so the real issue is which power gets to exploit Greenland's resources in partnership with the local people. Because if that power is China, and this is what's going on in Panama, right? If China gets to exploit Panama and China gets to exploit Greenland, then that is a strategic problem for America. It's in America's hemisphere, right? And that's why I bring up the case of Australia. America has said that they will defend their interests in Australia. That doesn't mean that they want to stamp out independence in Australia. If people want to believe in that nice idea, they can. You know, they're just saying they're not going to give up their economic investments in Australia just to watch it fall to some other major power. And so this is really the issue that's going on with Greenland. But I would say, even beyond that, if you have a look at how hard the Americans have been putting the boot into Europe recently with the UK, Macron is squealing like a stuck pig. He's pretending that France has got a military and is going to do something about it, right? Like, to me, what this is, I think this is Trump ending the war in Ukraine, because Trump is making it very clear that unless America is listened to, right, then they have to, Trump has to get his way. And his way is he wants to end the war in Ukraine. And a lot of European powers don't want to end the war in Ukraine. And they particularly want the Americans to supply all of the ammunitions and the weapon systems to Ukraine, because they don't make it, right? And I think that Trump is concerned that the European aristocracy particularly are laundering money in Ukraine, right? And I would not be surprised if the monarchy of Denmark has been particularly grubby in that enterprise. And so what this is doing is it's putting them on notice. It's like, you will come to heel, right? And you will do what I instruct in Ukraine.